Hi, I'm Heather, a certified personal trainer, yoga instructor, and have my BSN in exercise science and behavioral coaching from Arizona State University. I currently live in Oregon with my 3 kids, who I will reference often.
And I'm Britt, a former Division I collegiate athlete turned recreational triathlete and fitness instructor. I have a degree in exercise biology from UC Davis, and I currently live in Belgium with my husband and 4 kids.
Together, we're best friends wanting to bring the world of health and fitness back to a more grounded and balanced place that's accessible to everyone.
Each episode, we're going to talk about ways to live out a well-rounded and healthy life that makes sense in today's modern, busy world. We'll cover topics related to exercise, nutrition, mindset, mental health, competition, and so much more.
So sit back,
Sign up.
and let's get ready to
Race to wellness.
Oh, so what's up? How's it going?
Ooh, pretty good actually.
Yeah.
I got back into consistently working out this week. And so
Nice.
I this morning did a nice little weightlifting, like
Mhm.
30 minutes of things. So I did it with like a video one, but I hate following along the videos. And so I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not doing your cardio move. I'm gonna do something that's related, but I'm not jumping in my house.
Yeah. You're upstairs,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, you're not on the ground floor. in
No,
the
well, I
apartment?
work out now downstairs, but before I was upstairs, and it's like I don't want to jump up here.
No. Yeah.
Worst.
Yeah. I
so
remember when I worked
that's
at the
what I'm
gym,
up
like we had signs up that said no dropping weights in the weight room. Yeah. And I was always like, why would you not drop weights? Like, I mean, if you're doing like
Yeah.
deadlifts or whatever, like you're gonna drop it. But it's because it's on the second floor and it's not structurally
Yeah.
set up for that. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
let's
okay.
not throw everything down.
Right, and then it just like blasts through the floor. You'd be like, oh god. Can you imagine right into
Why
the
did the
women's
gym
locker
shut
room?
down?
Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you haven't
My
been working
professor
out
told me that.
consistently?
No, I haven't. So yeah, I have to wait until February 15th is when I'll be cleared for exercise again. So I've been doing like little things like squatting when I'm in the kitchen and like just kind of moving around more, not sitting on the couch as much since I was at the end of pregnancy. It was pretty much a lot of sitting. But yeah, so I'm back to moving again, which is nice. It feels really nice. So usually I like not usually. When I'm pregnant, I put off doing any dishes and like housework and stuff until the morning because then I have a lot of energy when I first wake up, and by the end of the day I have none. And so like this week I like have been doing my chores at night, like at the end of the day, like loading the dishwasher and running it so that it's ready to go from the morning and that kind of stuff. So which is so nice. It's nice to wake up to a clean kitchen and clean dining room table. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's been wild. Yeah.
Well, I feel like it just sets your mind up in a better space because you don't then wake up and then see the work you have to do like immediately in front of you.
Yeah, where I like go in the kitchen and I'm like, I have to make the kids breakfast, but there's pans everywhere.
There's dishes.
There's dishes. I'm like, I can't make sandwiches because the counters are covered in whatever. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it's been a
I
nice
should get
mental
better at doing
shift.
that.
It's rough,
That's a good
dude.
mental shift.
Like, yeah. Yeah. Well, and like somebody said recently, like if you can do it in less than 5 minutes, don't put it off. And I'm like, really, when I think about it, the amount of time that it takes me to do the dishes is like 3.5 minutes. Like if I'm being dramatic about it. Yeah. That's how I feel about folding socks too. I'm like, it's wild. Like I have a basket of socks. It took me literally like of all of my socks, so mine and then the 3 boys, and like they were started complaining about we don't have any socks, and I was like, we'll just go buy more. And I'm like, no, Heather, stop buying new socks. You have socks. Fold them. And so now but it took me like literally 8 minutes to fold all of them. And I was like, you were so dramatic about this for like 9 months. Why? Just for fun.
8-minute task.
Yes. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah. Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking about New Year's resolutions today.
Did you make one?
I kind of always have one. Did you make one?
I did make one.
Yeah. Okay. What's yours?
So mine is kind of overarching in my life, but it's mostly related to like fitness and movement. And that's, I
Mm-hmm.
want to be much more consistent with my workouts and like actually completing them. What
Yeah.
tend to do is I will map out what I want to do, and then I'll spend like 45 minutes mapping out like 2 months worth of workouts for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just won't complete them. So I'm
Oh,
like, I
okay.
just wasted 45 minutes of my day mapping it out and make them nice and like color coded if I'm writing them down,
Yeah.
or now recently it's all on my computer. But I put them all out there and then I didn't do them.
Okay. Yeah.
So
So what
I'm going to be
stops you from
consistent and
doing them?
completing out
Okay.
everything.
Okay.
It's mostly just like me putting off not wanting to do it like in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be what I'll wake up and then I'll eat breakfast. And then if my workout is go for a run, it's cold outside, I'm going to wait till it gets warmer. And
Oh,
then you
okay.
wait an hour until it gets warmer, but then you're in the middle of doing another task. And so you say, well, I'll do it after I do this task. And then it gets to the point where all of a sudden it's 5 o'clock, it's dark out, and you still haven't gone for your run.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest limiter right now, is I need to get over the putting it off part.
Okay. Yeah. So how are you going to do that?
Doing it.
just,
Just doing
just
it.
do it.
Right?
Nike's on to
No,
something there. Just do it.
yeah, just do it. Yeah. No, so I'm gonna try more to like schedule time for myself. This is when you're gonna go do your workout. It is at this time. It's raining
Mm-hmm.
outside and you're supposed to go for a run. That's why you have a rain jacket.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so now I'm working on getting them completed when the calendar says
Mm-hmm.
it's supposed to be completed. So 4 p.m. is
Okay.
my weightlifting. I'm gonna do it at 4 p.m. because I've
Okay.
analyzed my day. I found a good spot to do it at, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What does your accountability look like around that?
Oh man, we're doing the whole thing right now.
Yeah, we're going for it. I love it. I was like, this is
Oh,
behavioral coaching. This is what I
it is
do.
right
This is
now.
what
I'm
I
getting the full
love.
coaching
Like,
for free.
yeah, let's go for it. I
What is
love
my
it.
accountability on doing this? I don't have a specific system right now for any sort of accountability. I should set something up. Oh, I just
Okay.
ripped my sock. Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Edit that out.
Fun. Yep.
No, I don't think I have like a specific system set up to like be accountable to myself other than my own guilt of not doing it.
Okay.
Oof, that's a hard
Is
one.
guilt a motivator for you?
It's not a not
It's
motivator.
not. Okay. Okay. So on the
No, this one
positive
we'll
side of
probably
it,
get
what's
into later.
your, yeah, I was going to say, so on the positive side of it, is your like reward system? Do you have a reward system in place for when you do it?
Oh, again, no.
Okay.
But I mean, there's the long-term goal of if you are consistently doing these runs, you can actually go for a run and not die.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, oh,
Okay.
you've been doing 3 miles a day for a month. You now are able to run 5 miles a day or whatever. So there's
Yeah.
the behind the scenes motivator and reward system of you will have built up your fitness for it. But I don't have like a, yes, I did the thing. Now I'm getting a
Hmm.
massage at the end of the month, which I should put as it.
You should. That's a good one.
That's a
Dude,
good one, right?
massages are life. I literally like in labor was like, I can't wait to get a massage. Like that's
Oh,
where I'm at. I'm like, please and thank you. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I should think about throwing that up as my reward at the end if I've been successful all month. Here's your
Yeah.
massage.
Yeah, that's a big one. What are like some smaller rewards you could give yourself? So like in the moment when you do the workout in that day, like what's something small you could do
Yeah.
that would.
I mean, let's see. What's a good one that doesn't throw you off track? My brain wants to immediately be like, now you can eat the food, but that's not why you
Yeah.
get to eat the
That's not why you get to eat the
food.
food. Yes. Yeah.
But I just
I
thought of
do
a
that
good one,
kind of
which,
in a like positive way though. So like
yeah.
I like having my coffee in the morning. So
Hmm.
mine is like I get to have my coffee after. So it's something I'm already going to do as
Yeah.
part of my morning routine, but I don't like allow myself, that sounds weird, but I'm like, but I don't have it until
Yeah.
after I do the workout. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just thought of a good one though, because I usually do protein powder like as a
Hmm.
drink afterwards for recovery. So if I get
Yeah.
like a good tasting protein powder and I say, oh, you've done the workout, now you get to drink this good protein powder one. Like
Mm-hmm.
my favorite one from a few years ago when I was getting really hard into this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like a what was it was almost cinnamon toast crunch, but they didn't call it cinnamon toast
Ooh.
crunch. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is a good one.
Yeah.
So that's a good small day-to-day one.
Yeah, because it's something you're already going to incorporate in what you're eating, right? So you're not adding
Yeah,
extra calories, you're not adding anything else, but just like, yes, I like it.
yeah, it's a good one.
Cool. Okay. So
Your turn.
my turn. I'm like, oh my gosh. So my New Year's resolutions are always like, I want to be more present. Like that's always where I'm at. I always want to be more present in whatever I'm doing. So I feel this a lot, like with my kids. Like sometimes they talk a lot at me, and I just like zone out because it's such a long conversation. But I want to be more present in what they're saying to me, and like um, and then just in general, like with my friends and that kind of stuff, I feel like the last year, my mom and her partner actually pointed it out, that I've been spending a lot of time on my phone. Like the last probably November and December, I was really on my phone a lot. And I realized that it was because it's like an instant hit of dopamine for me, like because
Yep.
I was miserably pregnant for November and December, that like I was looking for something that gave me that instant hit of like, oh, I feel good, I feel better. And so yeah, I'm trying to be more focused on not being on my phone, like spending more time reading books and being present with the people that I'm around, and then being more present, like even in like my business, and then in my workouts, like really um like being focused and energetic in it, and not just doing it because it's something that I do as part of a routine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm like, it's really hard to like track that. Like, was I
Yeah.
more present today?
That's what I
Yeah,
was
like
literally trying to think of is how are you going to measure if you're more present today than you were last week?
yes, yeah, yeah. I'm like, so I have a book. I got it when I was in Hawaii with my mom, which I love. But it says it's called Fucking Brilliant, and it's like one line per day. But it's like it
Yeah.
just gives you space for each day to write down like one thing that stood out to you for the day. And so I'm starting to use that. Um, yeah, just to write down like today I was more present. Today I noticed this. I was grateful for this. Like using it in a kind of a plethora of ways, but kind
Yeah.
of hoping to track it that way. So yeah, we'll see. Cool.
And then you can also look back on it and be like, oh, I didn't write in it yet yesterday and like
Mm-hmm.
do it. And you're going to have a gap. Like, does it have a page for like each day or is it like just
It
one right
doesn't.
after the other?
Yeah, it's just one right after the other. You fill in the date and the
Mm,
year, all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, but I think it would be really interesting to look at that and see, yeah, to see if I missed, like, why did I miss writing this down yesterday? Kind of the like
yeah.
whying it down. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Hmm. Yeah. And then you can also see like, oh, there was a huge gap in between
yeah.
here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What triggered that? Like, why was I less aware? Why was I not present in
Hmm.
those moments?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Why was I
Yeah.
not present here?
Yeah. Because there's usually some sort of trigger that happens, right? Like, so stress related, I wasn't sleeping well, my kids were sick, like all of those reasons, and
Hmm.
they're all valid, but being aware of them and cognizant, yeah, I think that's super important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. I feel like I should come up with some sort of tangible, like really firmly grasped, like I want to lose X number of pounds, like a lot of people do. But I'm like, I'm not that, I'm not that type of person. Like I'm not,
Yeah.
I have goals as far as like weightlifting and that kind of stuff in my yoga practice and teaching and coaching, but not, I less tangible is better for me. It feels better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like for me, I'm probably the more tangible one. Like I need to be able to see, like, I've
Hmm.
accomplished this goal, which
Yeah.
the one that I have right now, oh, my computer is about to die.
Uh-oh. Charger.
Pause. All right.
Cool.
Time back
Okay.
in.
Back in. Here we are. Cute.
All right. So New Year's
Um,
resolutions.
yeah. So I think they're great. Yeah, if you can come up with a plan to support them. I feel like what happens a lot of times is that people set out at the new year. They're like, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. And then there's not a plan that goes behind that. It's not specific enough. And so people kind of fall off. I see it all the time. January, people hit it hard. And then February, they fall off and they're back to their normal routine. And then by March, they're like defeated and they're like, why wasn't I able to do this?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of times too, we decide that we want to do whatever our New Year's resolution is because somebody else is doing it or because we think that we have to do it. Like you said, the person that wants to lose 50 pounds. So why do they want to lose 50 pounds? Is it because they need to for their own health and well-being? Or is it because they wanted to look really cute in a bikini on the beach in June when they go on vacation?
Yeah. Yeah. So finding those intrinsic versus extrinsic motivators, like what is the very personal reason that you're wanting to lose weight or to improve your health and wellness? Like, yeah, a lot of people do it for the external reward of like, oh, I look so good. I look so cute in that bikini for that one day. But that's not enough of a motivator to keep people going to the gym and keeping them focused on eating well and treating their body well.
Yeah, especially when it's a difficult day to get you there. So if it's raining outside or it's cold and you have to leave the house to go to the gym, is that day that's 6 months in the future going to be strong enough to get you out today? Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like there are so many different resolutions that people make that aren't based in personal like experience and personal like motivators where it's just something that they feel like they have to do. Like we don't have to make a resolution every year. We choose to make a resolution, but why did we choose to make that resolution? Did we choose it because we actually have a desire or a need to make that change? Or is it just because your best friend is out there and she's skinnier than you and you want to look just like her?
Yeah,
Or
definitely.
maybe a lot for me is the jealousy of I saw you run a marathon. Now I want to run a marathon.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. One of the things that I do in behavioral coaching, so when I start working with a client, I send them, there's 3 different like forms that I send them and have them fill it out, questionnaires. Actually, there's 4 because I also send a PAR-Q if they're wanting to do personal training with me, but behavioral coaching, it's specifically for 3. And they're like extensive questionnaires that talk about motivations and like personal goals and belief systems, all sorts of stuff like that. Because when we're doing goal setting, I want to know what really, really motivates you. Like if it's your spirituality, your connection to a religion, your family, your community, those sorts of things, you can draw on those strengths in order to get you to your goal. Like, because it's not always like, if I'm doing something, I've realized this actually with my business a lot, that like, if I'm doing something for somebody else, like if I have a client on Thursday, I'll sit down, I'll do the work and be ready and prepared and so excited for it. But if I have a personal meeting on Thursday, like where, oh yeah, I need to do that post so that it's ready for Thursday, like I'll put it off because it's for personal reasons.
Yes.
But there's something about making a connection to an outside person, or for my kids or for my parents, like I will immediately do it and be super successful at it. But for myself, I'm not nearly as motivated. And so when I'm working with a client, like understanding those sorts of motivators about them and how I can support them as a coach, like that's massively important in order for them to reach their goals.
Yeah. Like, are you someone who needs to have that accountability of somebody else verifying your work and seeing your work? Or are you someone that you can just do it and nobody has to know and you'll get it done?
Yeah. Well, and even looking at things like love languages, like that's something that like I throw into my behavioral coaching if it's important for that person. But like for
Yeah.
me, understanding that words of affirmation is my number one love language, like understanding that I need someone else. Like I know that my work is good, but I'm like, but I need somebody else to be
Mhm.
like, hey, I see you. Like that's really cool and you're doing great. Like that's
Yeah.
super important for me. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess we should move into talking about like why people aren't successful then all
Hmm.
the time at these. Like, what is
Yeah.
it that they weren't able to accomplish this goal? So they set out and they
Hmm.
said they want to eat better this year.
Hmm.
Why aren't they able to accomplish this resolution?
Yeah. Well, and I feel like saying eating better is I want to eat better this year. Like, okay, where are you? Where do you want to
Mhm.
get to? Like, there's got to be more specific than that. We talk about in coaching, we talk about SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Those portions, like creating your goal using those, that's going to help in a massive way.
Yeah.
Because when you're not specific enough, your brain goes like, it forgets about it. Whereas if you're giving specificity to what you're doing, it makes it easier to measure. But it also like I feel like it makes me feel so much better when I can see a result. Like you're like to your point where you're talking about like that tangible piece. It does help. It does help.
Hmm. It really does, especially if it's something that is going to take time to get to the end
Hmm.
result. You may not
Yeah.
see it for like a very long time. If your goal is in January starting and you
Hmm.
say I want to run a marathon and you're not going to run that marathon until October, you're not going to see anything happening in March
Mm-mm.
or in April. I mean, you might start feeling some of those things, but you're not going to see the huge gains of I want to run the marathon
Hmm.
until you get closer to that marathon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I remember when I was running, I ran a half marathon when I was pregnant with in the beginning, like just going out and you're doing your 1 mile and 2 mile runs at the beginning, and you're like, yeah, I can do 1 or 2 miles. And then
Yeah.
when those last couple of weeks, when you start to taper down at the end of your training, um, seeing how much easier those are, those last few runs right before you taper off. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's when you make the connection of like, I did all of that work to get here. I didn't realize each day
Yeah.
was the work, but yeah, but I got here. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's like
Yeah.
with mine, how it's like, well, what am I going to measure this on and how am I going to see this consistency? Well, I guess the overall work at the end, you'll have seen it all.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But
But how do you
each
get there?
day,
How do you get from
yeah,
point A to point B? Yeah.
yeah,
So how have you been successful? Because I know you've run a ton of different races and triathlons and that kind of stuff, right? So
yeah. Well, I mean, in my defense, I could have been trained up more for some of these, and it comes back to the I wasn't consistent with my training.
okay. Yeah.
But I think having that goal, like running a marathon on X date, you signed up for this
Mm-hmm.
race, whatever it is, and you're going to do it on July 1st. Having that
Mm-hmm.
actual date as a deadline is something that you can see when it is, and you can see the end to
Mm-hmm.
your resolution of why I want to run this marathon or whatever you're going to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you're doing it in a way that's going to make you successful and you've got workouts planned and you're sticking to them all, I feel like it's going to be easier for you to know, oh, I only have to do this until July
Mm-hmm.
1st or whatever.
Yeah.
So in the past, what I would do is I would fill up my calendar with those little dates of I'm going to run a triathlon on this date and I'm going to run a half
Mm-hmm.
marathon on this date and I'm going to do whatever it is on this date. And you'd have in the middle there, okay, I'm training for this. It gives you that
Mm-hmm.
little extra of I'm doing this because I want to do this.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah. So it's like smaller goalposts along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That you're still doing the work for, but like it's more like bite-sized pieces rather than I'm
Yeah.
training today. A person who hasn't run a mile in a year. I'm like, I, that person, am training for a
Yeah.
triathlon. That's too much. Like, that's, my brain goes, nope. Whereas if I
Yeah.
go like, I'm training to run a 5K in 2 weeks, like I could probably pull that together. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Or like if your whole goal was I want to run the marathon, you're not just going to go, okay, 0 to marathon. You're going to go
Yeah.
0 to 1 mile or 0 to 5K
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe a 10K and you're going to work your way up. And so if you have these little bite-sized goals, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little easier to keep going because you don't have to go to the marathon. You just have to get to the 5K.
Yeah, for sure. So when you were training, so what would you do like if you didn't reach one of those goalposts, right? So like say you set out you're
Mhm.
supposed to run a half marathon on this date, like what would you do if you weren't able to? Did you ever have that happen?
Cry. No.
Okay. Crying is good.
No, right? But you have to get to the point where you accept the fact that okay, I wasn't able to do this. So I did have I well, I've always completed my races and things. I've never had a
Okay.
did not finish, I don't believe, in like these longer endurance type races. Um,
Yeah.
but I did have one where I could have been a lot more successful if I had properly trained. And that was I ran a half Ironman race. And
Okay.
it seems at the time when I was signing up for this race and everything that it'd be something that I'd be able to accomplish as long as I did the work. But getting up to it and getting in further and further into this, I realized that my work schedule was changing and my other things were changing. Like all of these life situations
Mm-hmm.
made it so that my actual training and my workouts weren't necessarily always possible. And so
Okay.
you get to the race day and you're not as well trained. Well, I
Yeah.
knew that as long as I could get to the run portion, I could just walk and it would be fine.
Yeah.
But you don't want to do that necessarily. You don't want to just say, oh, I'll just walk it. Unless
Yeah.
your whole goal, I just want to complete this. But I knew I could complete it. I wanted to go for a better time.
Yeah. 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 For sure.
Yeah.
I
So,
remember when I was doing my half marathon training, up to that point, like I'm definitely a run walker. Like I run and then I walk
mhm,
a portion, and like that's just how I'm comfortable doing it. But I
yeah.
remember on the day of the race, I left the gate with two other people that I had been with team in training. I had been working with them, and I ran the first, I think it was the first 7 miles without pausing, which is
Walking.
not something that I had ever done before. And so
Yeah.
which was great, like felt great that I got to keep up with them and I got to stay with them and they were super motivating for me. But then the second half of that marathon was crap. Like because
Yeah.
my body was not used to it, I felt awful. By mile like 11, I was like crying. I was like so upset and I was hungry
Yeah.
and I was just pretty freaking miserable. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Mm,
going back to like, what do you do when you get to the point where you're at your spot and you haven't
mhm.
accomplished your goal or you haven't accomplished it the way you wanted to?
Yeah.
You kind of have to look back at, well, how did I get here? And remember,
Hmm.
okay, this is the foundation that I built myself over the course of that time period of a year, 6 months, whatever it is, and say, did I really give this a fair go
Hmm.
or not? And
Yeah.
then you have to be honest with yourself and say, well, was this possible in the first place?
Yeah.
Or did I set myself off on this lofty goal that I wasn't going to be able to accomplish anyways?
Yeah.
And then I think the
Y-
last part is you have to give yourself a little bit of grace when you fail
Yeah.
because we're much more than just that one goal or that one event or that
Hmm.
one piece of you.
Yeah. Well, and perfection can't be the expectation. Like that's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you actually just hit on a really good point for me. Like I I am not a runner. Like I will run if I have to, but it's not my favorite exercise. I would much rather do yoga or weightlifting or literally
Yeah.
almost anything else. But I realized that because I've run two half marathons, I've run a bunch of 5Ks, but I've run two half marathons. And I realized that the reason why my brain keeps taking me back to I want to sign up for and I want to run a half marathon or a marathon is because neither of those times did I give it the proper time and energy and focus. And so because I haven't accomplished it in the way that I wanted to, my brain keeps taking me back there. Like, even though I hate it, I still want to accomplish it in the way that I want to. I want to put in the proper training and focus and see the improvement and see the gains.
Yeah. I think that's a huge one for people who make the lofty goals of like, I want to lose 50 pounds, or I want to run a half marathon, or I want to do a triathlon. They've never done any of these things before. I think it's a huge reason why we keep making that same resolution, is because we haven't done it properly. And so we want to try to give it a fair shot.
Yeah.
And even though we might not enjoy that goal at the end, we still want to give it the fair shot that it needs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's this guy that I know, Bob Jordan is his name, but he runs Ironmans. That's what he does. So I met his wife Terry actually through Team in Training. And their daughter had died of leukemia, and they're so motivating because of the amount of charity work that they do, and what they bring into the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is huge. For those listening that don't know what Team in Training is, in exchange for raising funds for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, they train you to do an endurance event. So there's marathons, half marathons, there's Ironmans, there's mountain climbing, there's all sorts of events. It's a great program. So if you want, you should check them out. I'll link it down below. But so he talked about that he's done Ironmans and he's done marathons and all that kind of stuff. And when he started working with a coach was the moment that it changed for him.
Yeah.
Because then there was not only the accountability, somebody holding him accountable to his goals, but also like that external knowledge. You might think that you have all the information and know how to do the training, but just having somebody to bounce ideas off of and somebody to go alongside you in that process is huge. And I think a lot of times when we set out on these New Year's resolutions, that we do it completely on our own in kind of a bubble. And especially knowing if you're motivated by external factors, like, or by having somebody accountable, an accountability buddy or something like that, like, or a coach to help you along, give you more information. I feel like that's something that can help people be successful around these resolutions. Yeah,
definitely. Especially like you said, if you're in your own little bubble and you're doing something that is not productive, you might not know that it's not productive for you, and you're just going to keep repeating this cycle, and it's not going to give you results that you want, because nobody is there to tell you you need to switch, you need to pivot to something different.
Yeah. Well, and especially like in the online world that we work in, there's so much disinformation out there about diet, about exercise, about all of those things, about how our body works. It's really hard to sift through that information and come to a realization of like, this is effective, this is ineffective, like, this is helpful for me. And I think that, I mean, there's so many coaches out there that I think that they're well-intentioned, but maybe they don't have the depth of knowledge to help in all circumstances, or the information that they're giving might be correct, but the way that they share it is discouraging for people.
So it definitely speaks to getting someone that you're able to kind of connect with a little bit, and who's able to both motivate you and call you out on your issues and say, hey, why aren't you going to the gym? Your goal was to run a 5K and you aren't doing anything. Why?
In behavioral coaching, we talk about candor with kindness, like that ability to say what that person needs to hear in a way that's productive and helpful and not hurtful for them. But that honesty, you have to have that honesty in that coaching relationship. It's so important.
Yeah, definitely. So what are other ways that like we can kind of make ourselves more successful with any sort of resolution that we might make for ourselves?
So we talked a little bit about SMART goals, SMART. So I talked about specific, measurable, attainable, relevant. Good Lord. It was like relative. I'm like, that's not it. No, relevant and timely. So when
Yeah.
we talk about that, so specific, your goal needs to be really specific. So not just saying, I'm going to eat better this year, but how are you going to eat better? Are you going to eat less processed foods? Are you going to increase your protein? Are you going to reduce the number of carbs that you're eating? Are you going to balance out your fat and carbs and protein, your macros, that kind of stuff? So it needs to be really specific for you. Measurable. So talking about when you make that goal, when it is specific, you have to be able to measure that in some way, like in comparison to today, where I'm eating 3 bags of fried Cheetos every day. Tomorrow I'm only going to eat 2. Like that's what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
And then, achievable, or yeah, so you have to be able, it has to be a goal that you're actually able to accomplish. So not making it a goal where you're like, I'm only going to eat 1,000 calories per day. Like, no, that's not an achievable goal. That is not something that
Yeah.
can be carried on forever. Your body needs more than that just to function. If you were just to sit on the couch and do nothing, it needs more than that. So making it something that is achievable. And then relevant. So it has to be really personal. So we talked about those intrinsic versus extrinsic motivators. So it needs to be something that's really personal to you, in order for you to achieve it. And then timely. You have to break it down, so that you're not talking about in 2 years, I want to be able to run a marathon. Like, that's great. If it takes you 2 years to get there, like, that's awesome that you set that goal for yourself in 2 years, but let's break it down. So like we talked about before,
Yeah.
next week, I'm going to run a mile without stopping, and then a 5K, and then a 10K, and so on and so forth. It has to be timely. You have to be present in that goal every single day.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that if you've made a resolution already, or if you're thinking of making another one or doing one now, it's really, really nice to like write out what it is
Mm-hmm.
and list out these different ways in that smart
Mm-hmm.
way. So
Yeah.
making it specific and outlining it a little bit more, and then going through and what are you going to measure it on, and how is this achievable
Mm-hmm.
for you? When is there a due date?
Yeah.
And if so,
Yeah.
when is it? Like writing it all out for you so that you can visually see what it is you want to accomplish. And then
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you'd have a better grasp of, is this actually obtainable and achievable for me? Because you
Yeah.
can kind of see the work that you need to do.
Yeah. Absolutely. It doesn't even have to be a big thing. I think that's another thing, is that people think that setting a New Year's resolution has to be something that's huge. But it can be something small, or maybe it's not small. Maybe, I mean, I'm thinking specifically of like drinking water. I would like to drink more water. So how would we make that smart? So it has to be specific, right? So I specifically want to drink 100 ounces of water per day. So that's also measurable, right? So we've just made it specific.
Yep.
So measurable. So how am I going to measure success on that? I am going to, throughout the day, or how am I going to measurably track that? So throughout the day, by 10 a.m., I want to have drank 25 ounces, by noon, 25 more, so on and so forth throughout the day. Achievable, 100 ounces of water is not a terribly large amount of water. Not for me, but in general, maybe it is. Relevant. So for me, what are the reasons behind why I want to drink 100 ounces of water? Maybe you want clear skin. Maybe you want to go to the bathroom more often. You feel like you're not. I have no idea. But there's like so
Extra
many reasons. Exactly. Extra breaks throughout the day. And then timely. So thinking about this week, I want to drink 100 ounces of water per day. That making that goal very specific for you. And then coming up with a
Yeah.
way to keep track of that. Yeah. I think that's the other portion of it. So we can go through this whole process of breaking it down, how we're going to do it. But then if you don't set yourself up, so thinking about the ways that we would do that. So do you have a container of water that can carry 100 ounces? Are you going to fill your one water bottle up 4 times throughout the day? Is there water available at the place that you work? I remember working at a gym, and there was the only water place was all the way down the hallway. There was no ice maker, and I love ice in my water, so there was no ice to go in the water. So I really had to think about, I ended up bringing like 3 different containers that were full of ice, and I would go down the hallway in order to get the water. Like, for one of the times. The other 3 times it was already full up on my desk. But like thinking about those sorts of things, barriers to success in that. So what's going to stop me from drinking 100 ounces of water? If I'm drinking 4 cups of coffee throughout the day, I'm already satisfying that feeling of being thirsty by using coffee. And so I'm not going to have the drive to pick up my water bottle and drink water instead. So thinking about transitioning from coffee to the water, or thinking about drinking water in a different way. So thinking about there's water in tea that's really good. And so, or adding a flavor to your water, or making it sparkling instead of stagnant water, if that's something that's, or like I said, I love ice in my water. So ice versus warm water or tepid water.
Yep.
Thinking about all those things. And then in the moment, so having gone through this whole week where I was supposed to drink 100 ounces of water per day, and I got to the end of the week and I didn't hit that goal. So did I not hit it every day? Did I only hit it, or did I only miss on one day? And what was the reason for that? Was something else happening related to stress, tiredness, motivation? Maybe you had a work party where other beverages were available. What did that look like? And then realizing that the path to success is not a straight line. It's up, down, all over the place. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly acceptable for you to have a day where you didn't hit that goal. Did it change your overall result? Because what you really wanted by having drank 100 ounces of water was for your skin to be clear, or for you to have more breaks throughout the day, or just for you to be more mindful of the amount of water that you were drinking. How was it related to you? Yeah, so breaking that down so that it's really, really like how am I going to be successful in this? Not by setting a goal and then achieving the goal, but like each little tiny piece along the way. How did I get there?
Yeah. And then knowing that just because you failed in whatever sense you're thinking of as failing, but just because you didn't hit that goal on one of those days doesn't mean you aren't going to be able to do it tomorrow. So just not letting those past failures or misses affect going forward, and continuing to try and to do it over, essentially. Because in this specific instance, it's not like, oh, the moment has passed, I'll never be able to do it again. Just wake up the next day and you'll try to implement your plan again. And if your plan has flaws in it, adapt and make it so that you can maybe be more successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I remember having a conversation with somebody where they were talking about they wanted to do they wanted to do meal planning, like and meal prep each week. And then they realized that a barrier to success for them was if there's any dishes in the kitchen at all, then they are not going to do it. Yeah. And so then having to come up with a plan related to having the dishes clean or having the countertops clean, because they also had some other underlying conditions that made them get fatigued really easily. And so then breaking it down, how are we going to focus on getting your kitchen clean so that you can then do the meal prep, but then also incorporating recovery time for both of those activities, and realizing that recovery is also something that's massively important, especially if you're thinking of your goal of being like physical fitness related. Understanding that you're going to need breaks and you're going to need rest. I feel like that's also a huge barrier for people, because people want to go hard. I want to go to the gym every single day in order to build that habit and that routine. And then understanding that your body needs recovery time in order for you to heal and for you to be successful and see those gains. And so how are we going to deal with the mental portion of that when you feel like you're not racing toward your goal?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you hit on a huge one that we don't think about a lot, is that recovery of something. Like if you are trying to change a habit, it's easy to do what you've already got built for you. Like if you're eating 3 bags of Cheetos every day and you're wanting to eliminate them out of your diet, well, it's very easy to eat the Cheetos because you probably already have them in your house. And it's a lot harder to move to, okay, this is a new thing I need to do. And what foods can I substitute for them? What's going to give me that same dopamine kick or whatever I'm getting from these Cheetos? And so having to subconsciously think about changing your actions and making this like new plan of attack that you might not even know you're doing. Like in your brain, you're having to think about, oh, I really want the Cheetos, but instead I'm going to eat these carrots and they're the same color and they're kind of the same consistency. They give me a crunch, they give me a this. But in the back of your brain, that's a lot to have to like go through, and your brain's going to get tired, and you're going to eventually get to the point where you need to just take a moment and relax and let it recharge.
Yeah. Yep. Allowing that recharge. Yeah. That's the hard part. I feel like, because then there's such a societal pressure to always be productive. And I feel like rest and recovery are two things that society tells us are not productive. And so working on shifting that, like making that mental shift toward understanding rest and recovery are equally as productive as the work that you are doing. They are equally as important, and there's something that has to be incorporated in your plan. Because you know what? I get fatigued. There are days where I don't want to drink a drop of water, even though I love water. That's my beverage of choice 95% of the time. There are days where I'm like, I no longer want to drink any drops of water ever in my life. And so that recovery of like, great, so what am I choosing today that is not going to derail me completely? But that feels good. Yeah, that feels like my brain is getting a break from that. Yeah.
Definitely. I feel like that's a great segue into what we want to talk about next time, which is rest, recovery, sleep. How sleep helps us with everything.
Thanks for joining us today at Race to Wellness. We hope it was both fun and informative for you. Make sure to join us for our next episode, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content.
Also, we'd love to keep the conversation going, so feel free to ask us any questions or leave us a comment down below. You can also send us an email at racetowellness2023@gmail.com and click on the links in the description to follow us on our social media platforms.